Hey YouTube, how you doing? Let's talk. Welcome to When Nice Guys Retaliate. I'm the King's Kid, and I have something that's pretty interesting for you. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about how to build a resume. Realizing that a lot of people are trying to find jobs at this particular time, I just wanted to provide some insight that will hopefully help you in this endeavor. The goal is to provide you with some insight that will help provide you with more content, hopefully on your resume, in order to strengthen it or open you up to new opportunities or more opportunities. Some of you guys may already know some of the stuff I'm going to talk about, so you can just consider it either a refresher or just a tool to help others, or just a different point of view. So let's begin. Number one, understanding that building a resume is not the same as writing a resume, or at least in my perception. In this concept, this is a concept-based tutorial. I hope to give you ideas of how to build the resume, not write it per se. The writing part is easy. For example, writing about a factual event is a whole lot easier than writing about fiction. So with the factual event, basically you just recounting what's already happened, how you did it, what happened, when it happened, things of that sort. Whereas in fiction, you have to create everything. You got to create the whole timeline. You have to create the characters. You got to create the scenario. You got to synchronize it, make sense of it, and then make it even desirable for your reader. So, first step in building a resume is to do something. The core of any resume is basically experience. And this is how building a resume is different from writing a resume in my opinion. The only way to get experience is to do something. When I was a kid, I had chores in the house. Basically what I would do is I had to wash dishes and I mowed the lawn. Washing dishes was not by choice. I was directed to do so by my parents, As a son, of course, you do what you do. You don't realize how much your parents do. But if you have the opportunity to do chores, I think you should go ahead and take that because you are actually helping the family. Don't just consider it as punishment. My base when I was a kid, my parents gave me a stool, and that would just so I could actually reach up to put my hands in the sink. That's how small I was, and they taught me how to wash dishes. They didn't give me a whole lot of instruction on it, but essentially it was my first job, and I had a little bit of literally hands-on training, to do it. That said, you will not always have the right to choose the jobs that you want. Sometimes you're going to be given a job. Sometimes you may have a job, and they may actually have you do a different job. So my thing is, I would say, know that every opportunity that you have to work is actually something that's going to enable you to build your experience base. So you shouldn't look at it as negative. Even if it is a negative job, it is still a job. And then if you're getting paid for it, that's even better. Okay. The next step is to respect your work. Respecting your work to me is pretty broad, but it goes along the lines of actually appreciating your work, appreciating what you do, no matter what it is, if it's positive or negative. Now, going back to the dishes thing, in hindsight, the purpose of me washing dishes was to save money on the water bill. It also made sure the dishes were clean. Helped out my mom, because she did all the cooking and everything. Helped out the family. I came from a decent sized family, not your normal nuclear family, so it was a little bit more dishes to wash than normal. Honestly, I did not like washing dishes when I first started. I'm not sure if I really liked it for the whole time either, but in hindsight, I'm glad I actually did it. Partly, I think I got my brothers and sisters out of doing it because I had to do it. Let's see, and then that dealt with. I didn't feel like it was fair, and also you could actually cop it up to reliability as well. That's another story, but I won't get in. I don't think I'm going to get into that this time. I did gain an appreciation for having clean dishes, and I do not like seeing dirty dishes. That is like one of the nastiest things ever. At restaurants, I still kind of unconsciously, but consciously look at the dishes to see how clean they are. So if I see things like water spots, please don't let me see no food. Oh my God, that's just horrible. That almost makes you lose your appetite right there. But to me, when you see clean silverware at a restaurant, especially if it's clean and I'd say polished, that is I think that's a sign of a very deep level of respect that the restaurant actually has for the customers. Because any spoon, any fork, you're actually putting that in your mouth. And so if it's dirty, you run the risk of, getting sick and stuff like that. So I would consider that something very important, is to have clean dishes at a particular restaurant, if you're a restaurant owner or going to a restaurant or whatever. Some of the things I learned, a couple things I learned from doing dishes was consistency and faithfulness. I also learned that if you take too long washing the dishes, your hands they start shriveling up, and at some point, if you've ever really soaked your hands or soaked in a tub for a long period of time, it affects your skin to a point to where it actually it hurts. It can hurt, and you can actually more easily be cut in that particular situation. So that taught me that it's important to be timely as far as completing tasks. Some tasks you don't want to take too long to complete. Obviously, for health reasons, it could be, but in other terms, it could be just providing that particular service. Completing a task every day was really preparation for a real job, because that's just pretty much how a real job operates. Is you go in consistently every day, except the weekend, unless you have a job like that. But that is just part of the process of work. It's consistency, day by day by day by day. You may do the same thing, you may do different things, but being able to actually stay with a particular task as long as it takes, no matter how hard it is a particular, I want to say skill set or gifting in itself, but it is really just reliability. That's something you can actually boast in yourself. I also learned the importance of process while I was washing the dishes. I think I cleaned silverware first, then I did the glasses, bowls, and plates, and then finally I did the pots and pans. The reason why I did that is because over time you learn that your water gets dirtier and dirtier as you clean. So I wanted to clean my dishes first, make sure they were good. Next was the plates, because they were a little bit easier to clean. And then by the time you finish the plates, a lot of times I may have to change the water. So, but I learned that based off of just the experience of going through it every single day. But nevertheless, it still was an actual process that I actually followed. Sometimes you even have to soak the pots and pans, which require a little bit of preemptive effort. So if you have a pot that's got all crusted and it's going to be a little bit hard to clean, you go ahead and put your hot water soap in there and let it soak for a while, so when you actually do start to wash it, you can wash it a whole lot quicker. Now, what I learned later in life was that it is almost better just to clean it right while you're cooking. So if you clean it or soak it while you're cooking, it's going to be way easier to clean in the long run. Another story. Furthermore, I learned what a dirty dish looks like or feels like. One of the things I would do to determine whether or not the dishes were clean is I would rub my finger across it, and if it kind of was slippery and slid, I would consider that probably still not clean because it may have a little bit of grease on it, like if you had spaghetti or something like that, or for whatever reason. The clear test, the actual acceptable test, is if I rolled my finger across it and you hear like a little boom. You know how you rub and it's got resistance. Also, you could rub your thumb upon it, and if it squeaks, you know, it's synonymous with squeaky clean. So you knew it was pretty much clean if you had that squeak. Now, there are certain times where that might not actually work, depending on what the material is. And other times, like Tupperware, sometimes more plastic stuff, sometimes you can't even get that out. But that's just, you know, part of things. Some of the things I learned in regard to washing dishes. I think people and kids, a lot of times we don't really realize the value in our experiences. So if you listen closer to the things I just stated, I learned processes, which is actually a transferable skill to be able to create a process. See what you're doing, create a process, and then make something more efficient or better. That's something you can use. All right, I say that to say that you should look at your jobs. Any job that you have, I don't care what it is, if you like it, if you don't like it. Even if you're doing chores as a kid, you should be able to, we have to learn how to be able to determine value in those particular tasks. The two things I learned is, one was to be able to create a process, and the second was actually quality control. And, you know, you checking to see if the product or the service I did was actually good, to make sure the stuff was clean. But these are examples of things that you can put down on your resume. Okay, so like I said, these are pretty much, that's something a kid can do in, you know, while they're living at home and help their parents. But when you get into a regular job, you have to be able to look at your job and figure out what tasks do you actually do, and then what are the skills associated with that task. Sometimes we overlook things like filing, good handwriting, inventorying tools. It could be a bunch of different things, more technical, less technical, but they're actually skills. And so I would invite you to actually write down all the tasks that you do in a particular job. Then make sure you write down how much you did it, if you're able to do it better than somebody else. The next one I'm going to kind of tie into what I'm talking about now is, you got to be able to create your resume based off your current experience, and then you should be able to update it when you acquire new experiences and skills. Be able to track and quantify what you do. So I don't care if you work at McDonald's, I don't care if you work at a corporation or even a restaurant. There should be something, there should be things that you're doing to quantify. If you're a salesman, you should be able to say, all right, this is the sales record, and this is where you are with the sales record. Are you on par with it? Better thing to be is, are you above par? Because anything you do above par is something you want to be able to put onto your resume. If you're an inventory specialist, you should be able to quantify that in some way. Let's just say You have an inventory team. On the team, you're the best one on the team because you're able to finish your inventorying 15% faster than the other people. That's something you can put on your resume as well. But anything that you can quantify, and even if nobody else is quantifying, if you have a kind of a reliable way of actually calculating, that should be something you should want to put on your, or identify and put on your resume as well. The more information you have, the more experience you have, the more you can put on your resume. Also, I should mention, you may get jobs that you don't necessarily want. You may kind of discount them, but I say don't. What you really want to do is any job that you have, you perform, you want to be able to pull something out of that job that's going to help you with the job that you actually, or career that you actually want to be in. I don't care what it is. Customer service is something you can use anywhere. Negotiation is something you can use anywhere. Being clean is something you can use anywhere. So you should be able to pull something out of the jobs that you don't like. And don't be afraid to get jobs that you don't like. If you can't get the job you want, get something close to it. If you can't get something close to it, do what you got to do to at least help take care of your family. And then grab what you can out of that, and then help use it to help basically be a building block toward what you want to be. All right. At the very least, diversity in jobs and skill set is still going to be a plus for you. So if you have this much experience, but you need this much of it, that's fine. You still may be able to use something over here in this right here, because what you bring to the table, and even if you bring a different perspective to the table, that's going to potentially make you more appetizing to a potential employer just based on that. So think outside the box. All right. Next thing is basically, I'll say you are your resume. When you were in school, pretty much you had a report card. Your report card had different subjects, and in these different subjects, you were able to get a grade based on your work performance. Whether you did your homework, didn't do your homework, but that is what people see. When you get into the job market, you're looking at, you have to create your own report card, and that is your resume. But you also got to be able to create that report card, that resume, in a way that speaks to other people. A lot of time when we speak, we know what we say. We want people to know what we say, but how we say it may not actually be translated into what other people understand. So communication isn't about you understanding you. It's about other people understanding you. And even that being said, just because you get your message across, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to give you the job. Because you have other people with other experience levels. They may have more experience than you. They may have less experience than you. They may have a skill. They may have less experience than you, but they have better personnel skills than you, which make them a better fit than you are. So just because your resume is on point and good, that doesn't mean other skills can't disqualify you, or at least push you lower down on the list for a particular job selection. So personnel skills, your personality, and then the team that you may be working with can also be factors that you should consider when you're going into a job. If you want to be a particular promoter, but you're an introvert, you might have some issues. Okay, so you might want to change that. Go take some public speaking classes to get yourself more open and more comfortable talking, to get yourself in that particular career field. But don't just focus in on the skills of a particular job. Look at the other parts of the job. If you have to do a lot of talking, but you don't like to talk, you need to work on that. Okay. So I'll just leave it at that. But hopefully you'll understand that. But that is. Oh, well, I'll tell you one more thing. You can be the best person you are at this particular time, but there still may be somebody better than you. So the best thing we can do is be our best and then be available when an opportunity arises. Okay? So keep pressing, keep going, and don't be discouraged because one door is closed. Okay? Sometimes you got to go into the little door before you can get into the big door. But that's what I wanted to say. Hopefully that's helpful to you. And I wish you good luck as far as finding a job and learning a little bit more about yourself in this time.